Nia and Sihle had been inseparable since they were kids. They grew up side by side on the same dusty streets of Bulawayo, sharing everything: snacks, dreams, even tears. Everyone who knew them said they were like sisters, not by blood, but by something deeper. So when Nia finally opened her dream jewelry boutique after years of hustling, there was no question about who she'd hire first. Sihle had always been there, cheering her on, wiping her tears, and promising they'd rise together. In the beginning, everything felt perfect. They laughed like old times while designing necklaces, taking silly selfies between customer orders, and planning big ideas for the future. Nia trusted Sihle with everything: the books, the stockroom, even the shop keys. She thought, who better to have by my side than the girl who's always had my back? But sometimes love and loyalty can blind you. And sometimes the closest people are the ones who cut the deepest. Nia started to notice little things. Small inconsistencies in the inventory, whispers that stopped when she walked into the room. But she brushed it off. This was Sihle, her sister. Doubting her felt like doubting her own heart. Still, something didn't sit right. There was a shift, a distance in Sihle's eyes, a sharpness in her smile. And deep down Nia felt it. A storm was coming. But she never expected it to come from the one person she trusted the most. It all started with one special order: a custom diamond necklace made for a huge celebrity. It was meant to be a big moment for Nia's boutique, the kind of deal that could take her brand to the next level. She had worked on it for weeks, making sure every single detail was perfect. The pickup was scheduled, the necklace packed in its velvet box, ready to shine under red carpet lights. But the next morning it was gone. At first, Nia thought maybe someone had moved it. Maybe it was a mix-up. She rushed to check the CCTV footage, but somehow, the recordings from that night were completely wiped. Just a black screen where answers should have been. Her stomach dropped. The boutique had tight security. Only 2 people had access to the cameras: Nia and Sihle. Word spread fast. Clients started whispering, "How does a necklace just disappear? Why would the cameras stop working that night?" And then came the question that hurt the most: could Nia have staged it herself? Somehow, Sihle knew exactly how to talk about it in a way that sounded innocent but planted doubt. She said things like, "Nia's been under pressure lately. Maybe she just needed a little attention," or "she's so passionate, maybe she got carried away." Soft words said with a tilted head and concerned eyes. But behind them, poison. People began to look at Nia differently. Clients canceled meetings. A few even asked for refunds. It didn't matter that Nia cried herself to sleep that night, or that she stayed up for days trying to figure out what had happened. To the world, she was now a question mark. A maybe. A mystery. And the worst part? Sihle stood right beside her through it all, holding her hand, comforting her, pretending to be her rock. But deep down, Nia started to wonder, was the person drying my tears the same one who caused them? Something had shifted. The boutique wasn't just missing a necklace, it was missing the trust that once made it sparkle. Everything happened so fast. One day, Nia was the proud owner of a rising jewelry brand, and the next, the police were at her door asking questions. The stolen necklace had made headlines, and people weren't just curious, they were angry. How could someone lose a piece that valuable? Reporters camped outside her boutique, snapping photos and throwing questions like darts. Online, the hate poured in. People called her a liar, a scammer, an attention seeker. Her phone buzzed nonstop, but not with orders, with cancellations. Through all the noise and chaos, Sihle was always there. She brought food, hugged Nia tightly, whispered things like, "We'll get through this, and I believe you." At first, Nia clung to that support like a lifeline. She needed it. She needed someone who still saw her as the girl who built her dreams from scratch. But the more time passed, the more something started to feel off. Sihle cried a lot, maybe even more than Nia. And sometimes when Nia wasn't looking, she'd catch a flicker of something strange in Sihle's eyes, like guilt. Or was it pride? Then one afternoon, while digging through some papers in the back office, Nia found something she wasn't meant to see: a small, folded receipt. She almost tossed it without looking, but something told her to stop. It was from a pawn shop in Gweru. The date was 2 days after the necklace disappeared. And the name on the receipt? Sihle. Nia's hands started shaking. Her heart felt like it stopped. She read the paper over and over, hoping it was a mistake. But it wasn't. The item listed matched the description of the stolen necklace almost exactly. Suddenly everything clicked: the wiped footage, the whispers, the perfectly timed concern. It had all been a setup. And it was so clean, so perfectly planned that even Nia had started to doubt herself. That realization shattered something deep inside her. This wasn't just betrayal, it was a performance. Nia held the receipt in her hand like it was on fire. Her heart was racing, her throat dry. She didn't even plan what to say. She just marched straight to Sihle and showed her the proof. For a second, Sihle's eyes widened. Just a flicker. Then she smiled. Not a nervous smile, but the kind you wear when you think you're still in control. She leaned back, arms crossed, lip gloss shining, and said, "You can't prove anything. A receipt? Come on, Nia. That could be anything. Besides, people already think you did it. You're desperate, remember?" Those words hit Nia harder than any slap. Her chest tightened. Her best friend, her sister, wasn't even sorry. She didn't flinch, didn't explain, didn't even deny it properly. She just stood there, cool and calm, as if none of this meant anything. As if Nia's pain was just part of some game. Nia felt her heartbreak turn into something else. Rage. Not just because of the stolen necklace, but because Sihle had taken something far more personal. Her name, her image, her truth. The world didn't see Nia as a strong, hard-working woman anymore. They saw her as a fraud, a clout chaser, someone who faked a scandal just to get attention. And that story had come from Sihle's mouth, delivered sweetly, wrapped in fake concern and a perfect smile. Sihle didn't just steal jewelry. She stole Nia's peace, her trust, and her voice. And she stood there like it was nothing. That moment shifted everything inside Nia. She realized that this wasn't just betrayal. It was war. Sihle had played dirty, using gossip as her weapon and Nia's own dreams against her. But what Sihle didn't know was that Nia had one thing she hadn't lost, her fire. So Nia didn't scream. She didn't cry. She simply stared at the girl she once called family and walked away. Because now, she wasn't going to beg for the truth to be seen. She was going to make the world see it. And Sihle? She had no idea what was coming. After the confrontation, Nia vanished. No posts, no interviews, no comments. People online thought she had given up, that maybe the guilt was real after all. But Nia wasn't hiding. She was planning. She knew now that proving the truth wasn't about yelling louder, it was about being smarter. So while the world kept talking, Nia went silent and started digging. She used what was left of her savings to hire a private investigator, quiet, sharp, and experienced in cases where things didn't add up. She handed him the pawn shop receipt and told him everything. Every doubt, every detail, every strange look Sihle gave her. The PI didn't waste time. Within days, he was tracing phone calls, tracking movements, and pulling strings in places Nia didn't even know existed. It turned out Sihle hadn't worked alone. The investigator found a name, a courier from Harare who had been paid in cash to deliver a package to Cape Town. No questions asked. The delivery led to an underground auction where rare and stolen items were quietly sold to rich collectors. And yes, one of those items was a diamond necklace that matched the exact design Nia had created for her celebrity client. Nia listened in shock as the PI laid out the timeline, the names, the receipts. It wasn't just betrayal, it was a whole operation. And Sihle had planned it while smiling in her face, calling her sis and pretending to care. Nia wanted to scream, cry, punch something, but she didn't. She just took a deep breath and started collecting every single piece of evidence. Bit by bit, the truth came together like a puzzle. And while Sihle was busy enjoying her new spotlight, gaining followers, doing interviews, even being invited to events, Nia was quietly building her comeback. One that wouldn't need hashtags or rants. One that would speak for itself. This wasn't going to be loud. It was going to be brilliant. Because sometimes the most powerful revenge doesn't come with noise, it comes with proof. 3 months passed, and just when people had nearly forgotten about the scandal, Nia returned, not with an apology but with power. She was announced as the keynote speaker at a luxury women's business gala in Johannesburg. It was a huge deal, full of high-profile guests, cameras, and flashing lights. Her name on the guest list shocked everyone. The woman who had disappeared in shame was now being celebrated? People were curious. Whispers started again. Had she bounced back? Had she faked it all? What no one knew was that Nia had been waiting for this moment. She made sure Sihle was invited too, front row seat, VIP access, all smiles. Sihle showed up dressed to impress, still playing the role of a rising star in the business world. She didn't look worried. In fact, she looked confident. Maybe she thought Nia was just moving on. Maybe she thought she had already won. As Nia stepped on stage, the room fell silent. She looked stunning, calm, graceful, glowing with something deeper than confidence. Strength. Her voice was steady as she began her speech, talking about women in business, trust, and the pain of being misunderstood. Sihle smiled, even nodded a few times like she agreed. Then halfway through, Nia paused. She reached for the remote in her hand and simply said, "Sometimes the truth needs to be seen." A giant screen behind her lit up. First came the receipt from the pawn shop in Guero. Then the courier's statement. The auction listing. Timestamp footage. All real. All clear. All pointing directly at Sihle. Gasps filled the room. Sihle froze. Nia didn't yell. She didn't need to. The proof did all the talking. She finished her speech with a single sentence. "I didn't lose a necklace. I lost a friend. But what I found was the truth." Sihle stood up, face pale, trying to leave, but it was too late. Cameras turned. Phones recorded. The same spotlight she had stolen now exposed her. And Nia? She didn't chase revenge. As soon as the screen lit up at the gala, Sihle's whole world started crashing. At first, she tried to keep her cool, pretending like it was all a misunderstanding. But the evidence was too strong, too clear, and too public. Her name was on the receipts. Her face was in the courier records. Her lies were finally out in the open, and there was no room left to hide. She stood up, trying to slip out quietly, but the cameras were already rolling. Journalists rushed toward her, phones in hand, shouting questions. Flash after flash, picture after picture, her shame caught from every angle. For someone who had once loved being in the spotlight, Sihle now looked like she couldn't get out of it fast enough. By the next morning, everything had changed. Brands she partnered with dropped her. Sponsorship deals were canceled. Her inbox was filled with "We regret to inform you" messages. Her followers turned cold, flooding her comments with snake emojis and angry words. People unfollowed her in waves. Just a few days before, she was being praised as a rising star. Now, she was trending for all the wrong reasons. But the worst part wasn't losing the contracts. It wasn't even the public shame. It was the fact that all along, Sihle didn't really want the necklace. She wanted what Nia had. The respect. The love. The glow that came from building something real. She thought stealing it would give her the same shine. But it didn't. Because fame stolen from someone else doesn't last, it crumbles, just like she did. Back in her apartment, Sihle sat alone, scrolling through the chaos she had created. No one was calling to check on her. No one was defending her. The silence was loud. And Nia? She didn't say a word online. She didn't gloat. She didn't throw shade. She didn't have to. The truth had done all the work. Sihle wanted to be queen. But instead of building her own crown, she tried to snatch someone else's and ended up with nothing. Not even a throne to sit on. After the gala, everything changed, but this time in the best way. The truth had finally come out, and the world saw Nia for who she really was. Not a scammer, not a thief, but a strong, talented woman who had been betrayed and still rose above it all. Her boutique, which had almost shut down during the scandal, suddenly came back to life. Orders poured in. Old clients returned with apologies, and new ones lined up, excited to support her. People wanted to wear her jewelry not just because it was beautiful, but because it now stood for something more. Strength. Survival. A second chance. A small film crew reached out, wanting to make a short documentary about her story. Not just about the betrayal, but about her journey, her resilience, and how she turned pain into purpose. Nia agreed, but only under one condition. It had to focus more on the comeback than the scandal. She didn't want to be remembered as the woman who got robbed. She wanted to be remembered as the woman who rose. And that necklace, the one Sihle had stolen and tried to sell off in secret, it eventually made its way back. Nia didn't hide it. She didn't sell it. Instead, she placed it in a glass display at the center of her boutique. Right beneath it, a small gold plaque read, "The one that wasn't lost, just misplaced trust." Every customer who walked in stopped to look at it. Some smiled. Some teared up. All of them understood. Nia didn't need to shout, or clap back, or post a long thread online. Her success spoke louder than any comeback speech ever could. She had her name back, her business back, and her peace back. But most importantly, she had her crown. One she didn't steal, one she didn't fake, one she earned. And now, every time she opened the doors to her store, she walked in with her head high. Because this time she wasn't fighting for a throne. She was sitting on it. Months had passed since the gala and the world had moved on, or so it seemed. Nia was thriving, her boutique busier than ever, her story inspiring women across the country. Meanwhile, Sihle had completely vanished from the spotlight. No more red carpet appearances, no more brand deals, no flashy Instagram posts with perfect filters and borrowed confidence. It was like she'd disappeared. Then, one day, a photo started circulating online. It showed Sihle sitting under a faded umbrella at a roadside stand just outside Gweru, selling beaded bracelets and snacks. Her hair was tied back, her clothes plain, her eyes tired. No makeup, no designer bag, no audience. Just silence and sun. Someone asked her what had happened to her glamorous life. Sihle didn't get angry or make excuses. She simply looked up and said, "I flew too close to a sun that didn't burn out." The quote spread fast. People couldn't decide if it was sad, poetic, or just bitter. Maybe it was all three. When Nia saw the photo, she didn't smile. She didn't laugh or post a shady caption. She felt quiet. Not pity exactly, but something softer. A mix of peace and understanding. Sihle had tried to ruin her, had stolen from her, lied to her, destroyed her reputation. And yet, Nia didn't feel the need to gloat. That wasn't who she was anymore. Instead, she asked her assistant to send something. A plain brown envelope. Inside was a USB drive with the original security footage of the necklace delivery, the one Sihle tried to erase. Nia tied a small red bow around it and included a handwritten note. "In case you ever want to remember what the truth looks like." That was all. No signature. No threats. Just closure. Nia believed in justice, but more than that, she believed in letting go. Sihle had already lost the very thing she chased the hardest, the spotlight. And Nia? She didn't need revenge to feel complete. She had rebuilt her life with grace, not spite. Sometimes rock bottom isn't the punishment. In the end, Nia finally understood something she hadn't seen before. The most precious thing she ever owned wasn't the diamonds in her boutique or the gold in her displays. It was her voice, her strength, her ability to rise, even after being torn down by someone she once called sister. Everything she went through, the betrayal, the heartbreak, the silence, the fight to clear her name, it taught her more than any success ever had. She learned that real strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, "Keep going." She learned that not everyone who claps for you wants to see you win. And most importantly, she learned to trust her gut. That little voice inside her that had always known something was off, even when her heart didn't want to believe it. Nia no longer saw herself as a victim. She saw herself as a woman who had walked through fire and come out shining brighter. She knew that betrayal doesn't define you, your comeback does. And next time someone smiles with hidden intentions, she'll see it clearly. No more ignoring red flags. No more shrinking herself to keep others comfortable. She stood in her boutique one quiet morning, looking at the necklace in the glass case. It no longer reminded her of pain. It reminded her of power. Of how she took her story back. Of how she didn't just survive, she glowed. Because now Nia wasn't chasing jewels. She had become